point out to everybody that I really became involved with concrete pavement in 1952. We moved from Chicago to Wheaton, Illinois, and I lived on the corner of Morgan Street and Liberty Drive, and both Morgan Street and Liberty Drive were concrete pavement. So I've been involved with concrete pavement since 1952. So let's see if I have control here. Okay, so I'm going to talk about streets and local roads and a concrete pavement task team that we're putting together. We've already started it, but we're going to talk a little bit about it. But first of all, I want to go to my next slide. So what are the most appropriate areas for concrete pavement for local roads? Here I have a list here: intersections, local roads, deceleration, acceleration lanes at intersections, roundabouts versus four-way stops, commuter rail, bus stops and parking lots, sidewalks, multi-use trails and bike paths, pervious and colored concrete, and the jointed plain concrete pavement overlay of asphalt pavements. Here's a picture of an intersection in Bartow, Florida, a local road. And what they did there, in certain of their intersections downtown Bartow, they've made their intersection itself of concrete. And of course, you can see they have stamped concrete for their crosswalks. So most appropriate areas for concrete pavement: roundabouts versus four-way stops. Everybody knows about the benefits for traffic safety and traffic flow have been well documented for roundabouts. Only concrete can withstand the high stresses imposed from heavy truck movement. Here's a picture of the sign where one of the first concrete roundabouts were constructed in Polk County, Florida. Here's a picture of a truck navigating that roundabout. And so some other areas that are appropriate for concrete pavement: commuter rail bus lanes, bus stops and parking lots. There's little or no required maintenance. Cooler for commuters and parked cars, brighter and less lighting is required. And it can withstand the high stresses imposed by buses. Here's a photo of the bus lanes at the Debary SunRail station. This is not too far from my house, about 20 minutes away. And sometimes when I have meetings in Orlando, I'll go ahead and take the train down to Orlando, you know, instead of driving my car there. Because it costs about $20 to park your car in it. And since I'm a senior citizen now, it only cost me $1.75 round trip. Here's a concrete bus stop in Orlando. They have a lot of concrete bus stops in Orlando, especially on International Drive. Sidewalks, multi-use trails, and bike paths. I have a couple of photos here. Here's one, the Waterway Park in Venice, Florida. They have a concrete bike path there. Here's a sidewalk in Windermere, Florida, which is really, you can do a lot of stuff with concrete that make it beautiful and also pleasing for the walk. Here's what they do in Milwaukee for their bike lanes. They have a concrete street, the bike lane, and parking lane to the right. Pervious and colored concrete. This is kind of interesting. At the Debary SunRail station also, they used pervious concrete around the palm trees. One thing I didn't know is that palm trees, once they start growing, whatever diameter that is, that's the diameter they stay at. So so that way you can put concrete around it and it won't interrupt the growth of the tree. Here's a stamped and colored cul-de-sac at Frenchman Creek Clubhouse in South Florida. And here's the colored crosswalk that they constructed in Fort Pierce, Florida. As you can see, the whole concrete is colored. And then last thing I want to talk about is some of the jointed plain concrete pavement overlay of asphalt pavements that we have. This was constructed in 1988, and if Tom Malurk is still on the line there, he was very influential in getting this pavement done here in Florida, and it's still in great shape. It was constructed in 1988, and here's what it looks like today. And still that sign is up there that says it's an experimental project, 2 miles long, and the concrete got a little bit colored there because of the asphalt. They've had to do 3 asphalt overlays already on the sections north and south of the project. Here's another picture of it further on down where, and you can see that it's in very, very good shape, 32 years old and still in great shape. Why Florida needs a task team for streets and local roads. Most local governments specify the FDOT Rigid Pavement Design Manual. Typical Florida section includes a stabilized subgrade, a 4-inch asphalt base with edge drains, and then a minimum 8-inch thick concrete pavement. This is very costly, unnecessary, and cannot compete with a typical asphalt section. Many state DOTs and the FHWA have design procedures for streets and local roads that incorporate an economical concrete design that competes with an asphalt pavement. Several states prepare projects with alternate pavement types and let the contractors bid on them, and may the lowest cost project win. So, do we have any examples of economical concrete designs? Sure we do. Quite a few examples, and they're projects that the DOT constructed. I'll go through the pictures here. This is Woodland Boulevard in DeLand, Florida. It was constructed in 1939, and it's a 7-inch thick jointed reinforced concrete pavement, and the base is soil cement. But also here, what you'll see is that it has tied concrete shoulders. Here is 1792 Mills Avenue in Orlando. It was constructed in 1936. So that's now 84 years old, and it's 7-inch jointed reinforced concrete pavement. And what they did here is the middle 3 lanes were constructed in 1936. In 1952, they widened the roadway, and they put the 7-inch plain concrete pavement on lime rock. And this is US 1 in South Daytona. It was constructed in 1952. And at this current time, they're doing a slab replacement project. But as you can see here, they've not replacing a whole lot of slabs, but they are replacing some slabs in that. So what is the composition of the task team? Led by the Florida Concrete and Products Association and the FDOT, local government engineers, consulting engineers, engineers from the Florida Concrete and Products Association, members and staff, contractors, and representatives from the ACPA, NRMCA, PCA, and ACI. What have we done to date? Members of the task team has completed the first draft of the Streets and Local Roads Design Guide. The first draft was completed by members of the task team and industry experts. After the first draft has been reviewed and comments have been received, we will invite representatives to join the task team who represent the Florida Green Book, facers, local government engineers, consulting engineers, contractors, and representatives from the National Ready-Mix Concrete Association, American Concrete Paving Association, Portland Cement Association, and ACI. All task members' comments and suggestions will be reviewed for the final document. Let's make a difference. And this is a picture of Dixie Highway. It was constructed in 1916. It's right outside of DeLand, Florida.